Cannabis.
Oh, holy cow. Good morning.
Welcome to Unity's New Thought and World Religion class. I am Greg Lee, presenting Intentional Cannabis, Part 3. And I believe there was a question in the audience.
No, I just talked to Terry last night, and he was very excited that you might be able to help him with the parts that help and not help for sleep, specifically.
Yes, sleep and cannabis is a very individualized and exciting... Oh, my shoes are on. Oh, no. There's only like 5 people here, internet people, so we're going to take a little bit of time this morning, because also I was running late. So we're going to get comfortable.
Perish the thought.
What's that?
Perish the thought.
Perish the thought of casuality in my religion. There is no laughter. There is only Baptists.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I was raised Methodist, and so that one just like slips out. Okay, so in week 1, we gave a lot of an overview of, I guess, the science and the math and the actual biology behind cannabis, what it is and does. We talked about some of the cannabinoids, namely CBD and THC being the big and famous ones. And if you're watching me online, go ahead and get off your chair and come on down to Unity of Springfield, where we have a great time.
Good one. Every time.
Yeah, that is, hey, you gotta ask for it. So we've done a little bit of an overview. I even forgot my notes this morning, so this is going to be truly off the cuff. Which I am happy to accept any sort of shout-out topic from the audience. Say, hey, I want to hear more about this. This is something that I'm perfectly willing and interested to do. Otherwise, I will meander my way towards that whatever end goal we're all going to discover together.
It was meant to be CBN, and then you break through that?
CBN is fine. So week 1 we talked about different cannabinoids and how they differ. There's hundreds. They all do slightly different things, and the end result is that taking more of them is going to be, in almost every case, better because of something called an entourage effect. Entourage effect is when the cannabinoids that interact with your endocannabinoid system do kind of a more than the sum of their parts effect. To where they interact with each other in almost unexplainable ways to promote homeostasis throughout the body. Week 2, we talked quite a bit more about dosing, and I believe that one was a little bit more of a... we talked about how and when to take doses and how to use cannabis intentionally and not haphazardly and not without thought. You can use cannabis and just kind of blast away your consciousness and escape reality for a time. But when you come down, just like with any substance, your reality is the same because you didn't do any work while you were up there. You changed nothing, and you're all out of ideas. And so the other way to use cannabis instead of getting just we'll say unbelievably high, or so the 3 last week was the 3 kind of different ways to take it or to use cannabis in general. One is recreational. You want to get kind of high and watch a movie and have some fun. That's a perfectly reasonable way to use cannabis, which I recommend for lots of people. It's certainly less damaging to your health than alcohol for the same level of impairment. Number 2 is to escape. You can always use cannabis to escape, which is not the recommended way to do it. That's when you just take enough and blast yourself into the stratosphere. Now, a lot of people that don't want to use cannabis for sleeping, that's the technique that they use because they just say, I want to shut my mind off. And that, to me, is analogous to sleep. Now, whether or not it is or isn't, it's obviously up to the individual to determine whether they're actually sleeping or not. In my case, If I take a lot of a THC product, I will lay down, close my eyes, not move for hours, and not sleep a wink. And I will, quote, wake up not being any more refreshed and not being any more alert and almost feel like I just pulled an all-night. Well, last week we talked a little bit about the difference between sativa and indica. We redefined those, sativa being a little bit more of in-the-body stuff, indica being the severing of the mind-body connection to explore the depths of the outer space or the inner space, whichever one. You might find the hidden secret there is that there's no difference between the outer worlds and the inner worlds. And cannabis can even help you determine that for yourself. I'm gonna sit for a second, drink coffee, and think about what I'm gonna talk about. I literally got here just in time. So,
You did have one question last week. You were going to cover. Somebody said they had a friend that gets really anxious, and you were going to cover that this week as opposed to last week. So just a reminder.
yes, thank you. Last week was a whole bunch of wonderful jumping off points. I remember now. So yes, the anxiety, the paranoia and stuff that people come with cannabis. This is all going to merge together into today. My overarching theme of my talk is going to be breakthrough dosing. Terrence McKenna called it heroic dosing, but he was generally talking about like psychedelics and mushrooms. But you can do that same thing with cannabis or most substances. You can do something that changes something depending on how much you take, and you're setting the intention behind what you're actually doing. Now, the question from last week was, hey, my friend gets really anxious every time they take cannabis. They get high and they really don't like it. You know, they get so nervous, they get so paranoid. And that's really common that's kind of cannabis's signature move. Its trademark move from the very beginning is the paranoia that comes with it. Now, a little bit of that is the cultural atmosphere that was created through the illegalization and the stigmatization and the propaganda campaigns that kept cannabis illegal for almost 100 years now. That contributes a lot. You know, when your grandfather was scared of cannabis and your father inherited that fear of cannabis because the media also said the same thing to him, and then you're sitting here and the DARE program says it's going to be a huge problem, you know, and then you smoke it one time and you go, well, what was that all about? And you can kind of learn a little bit more. The guess where I'm going with this is that the cultural impact on cannabis anxiety shouldn't be discarded, but it is not at all the true culprit of paranoia and anxiety when you consume cannabis to a larger extent than perhaps what you would consider a microdose or a function dose. The way cannabis works is it draws more connections between your neurons. So when you see things, you believe or you understand that they are more connected than they appear on the surface. And so, for example, as part of the paranoia, you smoke a joint, you drive down the road, a cop car passes you, and you think, they're looking for me, or they know. You know, this is the fear. Oh, my parents know I smoked, and now everyone around me knows that I'm hot. And so here's where it gets really fun, because like to a certain extent, maybe, but also no, it's all okay. The relaxing and understanding and the faith that all things are unfolding as they will and as they should can mitigate a lot of the fear that comes from that sort of paranoia. And it's not it's not paranoia if there really are people out to get you. And I say that in the funny way, but it's not the I say that in the scary way, but it's not the scary way. It's if you have a sneaking suspicion that there's an underlying principle and an underlying foundational connection between all things that you experience and all that is, and like who you are and the world around you, and you start like, this is your first time comprehending that, or even whatever, it's just a suspicion, and cannabis, or THC specifically, is causing your brain to draw these types of connections, and maybe see connections where before you didn't. Well, I've got good news for you. Everything is all connected. I mean, we are all one part of an interconnected energy system, and so that's not a lie. There really is a connection that you're drawing between yourself and every single thing around you. Being high just kind of exacerbates it. It enhances it. It changes it somewhat. I mean, this is the mental state of I'll call it intoxication. That's not correct. The mental state of being high is something that you can achieve through meditation, through cannabis, through all sorts of substances, and with nothing at all. Yeah, Rachel.
In my personal experience, sometimes when you get high, you are so removed from your physical self that you have to be more intentional about the way that you confront things, because you have to try really hard to do it. Sometimes it takes more effort, because you realize when you're high and you're removed from something, you realize that there is a right way or a better behavior. You can see a better perspective, and so you have to be more intentional about your movements, because you don't want to do it wrong when you've realized there's a better way of doing it. But you can't see that until you've removed yourself. You can't understand that everything is connected and there's a right way and a wrong way to connect with the world around you.
Yes. And then going up and seeing a better way, that's kind of what we're talking about with breakthrough dosing, is the extra perspective. If you live your life as a fish in a river, and suddenly flew up and placed yourself over the river, and you could see the front and the ends and the beginning and everything, and then the great ocean where the river flows into, your perspective will shift, and your fishy problems will seem very solvable when viewed from above. And your human problems, now we live in a 3D space, not confined to a flat plane like a fish, but again, it's just an extra dimension up. And if you remember one of my other talks, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where I went a lot into dimensions, if you view your third dimensional self from the next dimension up, your human problems seem a lot easier to solve, because you have a better range of vision. The trick, and it's no trick, but the trick is bringing that back with you and making the actual pivot and making the change in your day-to-day physical life, because that's where we generally fall short, is we see the path and it is so clear until we have to walk it. And so you that's another very common and popular cannabis and being high trope, is having all these great ideas, right? Like a burrito that microwaves itself. How awesome would that be? And then the integration is much more challenging. And then you come back and you go, well, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea, but it was novel. And that's part of what cannabis can do for you too, is if you're stuck in your rut, my last talk, your thought patterns and your behaviors literally dig a rut through time that traps your consciousness within. And if you want to get out of the rut, you have to see that there is one. Which is where substances and meditation and spiritual breakthroughs and all of these things come in. You get to see over the lip of the river within which you dwell, and you go, there's more. It can be different.
Is there a question?
I was just going to agree with Rachel, is that I was probably 14, 15 years old, and I began getting high probably earlier than that. And a lot of the spirituality that I was led into was probably brought on by knowing that there was more than that. And the problem was, like, I'm like 19 years old, and I'm with this Arvella and this other guy, Marshall, and we're sitting down in a house and we're smoking dope, and my wife took off, and we were talking about starting a commune and blah, 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 okay? And so she took off, and then she come back about 3 years later, and we're all still sitting in the same place talking about starting a commune. She said, I'd already done my laundry, cashed my check, bought groceries, ready to go home, and nothing else, nothing had ever been accomplished. And so, you know, there are some dangers in marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's some issues.
Oh yeah, it is the integration. Otherwise, you spend all of your time somewhere else and don't get anything actually accomplished here in the now.
Well, just like anything else, marijuana is a tool. And it depends on how you utilize that tool. Once you know that potency and that, I mean, it's a little different, just like spirits as far as alcohol, depending on how you may react towards a particular dose or a particular strand.
Yep. I mean, I can do a lot of damage with a hammer. I can also build a house. And cannabis works the same way. It is individualized, so it's like your hammer with your little monogrammed name, because you're building your own house or you're wrecking your own joint. You know, like it's you get to drive.
No. I just was reading it wrong.
Okay, so
Can I add something to that real quick?
You certainly may.
Sorry. You guys are agreeing with like doses and all that, and something comes to mind. Even water, you can actually drink too much water, so it's like everything in its dose, and it's all in moderation. And if you're going to get what you want out of it, as long as you pay attention to your body and your mind. And if you want more, if you want to escape, that's one way to escape, but you can't escape your problems.
Yep. As above, so below, you know, and so you're going to get what you want out of it, and it's like you're going to get what you want out of life. You get to choose the whole thing, and if you want cannabis as a part, great. If you don't, great. Get what you want.
I'm wondering if you guys see a common, I know this is a loaded question, but for people that struggle like with mania or hypervigilance, do you see more of the THC and the CBD working together? And I know everybody's different.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? As far as like the components of CBD, I know help with emotional regulation.
No, so I'm definitely not a scientist, nor am I a medical doctor, so I recommend contacting your primary care physician if you have any specific questions about interactions or specific conditions. Now then.
And your primary care doctor from where?
You didn't say it fast enough.
and so it is absolutely just an individual experimentation. People that are prone to addictive personalities, I'm going to say to be more cautious taking anything. People are prone to mania, I'm going to say be more cautious taking a stimulant. People that are prone to whatever, be intentional in everything that you do, and adding any substance to your daily routine or to your recreational intermittent routine is always something to be done mindfully, not wantonly. And so to answer your question, I have heard people tell me this is amazing for you. You name a scenario, you name a condition, you name a complaint. It's all up here, anyway. And someone will say, this does phenomenally to treat my ex. And the next person that walks in says, wow, I really can't use cannabis to solve that same problem that the person right behind me solves completely with cannabis. You know, and because of the way you generate your own reality through the patterns of consciousness that you hold true and hold as your beliefs, cannabis will fix it all. So will anything else. Nothing will fix it all except for you. And that discovery process, which we call life, that's the name of the game, folks. Figure it out.
So there's not a common theme then?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's all I wanted data-wise.
The same commonality that is between any two random human beings on the planet.
I would say in the case of really dramatic changes in behavior or emotional regulation, having a balanced CBD and THC product in a lot of cases is an easier way to find your ideal dose and find your functional dose because they share space. It's a more balanced product instead of it only being THC and your body trying to figure out what to do with THC. It gets training wheels in a sense, and it's able to do it in a measured way. And so the alternative to having a balanced product like that, I would say, is start in microdoses, and in the case of something erratic and emotional, start very small and step very small.
I mean, if your consciousness is like a airliner, THC is going to tilt you up and CBD is going to tilt you down. And so, like, fly where you need to be and use the tools to get you there. And you get to use the rudder. Now, again, you are your own rudder, and whatever if you attribute changes to something external to yourself, you have missed the point.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this could also be replaced with, like, for example, caffeine.
Yeah.
I mean, you can overdo it with the caffeine, but you don't sleep for who knows how long, which isn't good for your heart. Or you can wake yourself up in the morning. Is it not the same?
Tools. Interchangeable, and just all part of the human experience. All right, back to, this is all to talk about the first question of the day, which was, my friend gets anxious when they use cannabis. We've gotten kind of to breakthrough dosing. If we're going to go back to cannabis and your level of consciousness being an airliner, being an airplane, where THC tilts you up and CBD puts you down. Now, insert tool here. Things, even your own brain can tilt you up or down as you raise or lower your consciousness. Yes.
Both THCs
Microphone.
take you up? Because I was thinking one THC took you up and one took you down.
So, she said both THCs take you up. There are dozens and dozens of THCs.
Well,
Now, those molecules themselves it's much less the THC aspect of it at all. The THC is like gasoline or the engine in your car that makes you go in a direction, and then all the other stuff is what steers you. The terpenes, your own setting, a lot of things. So a high is a misnomer because there's no up and down. There's not even an inward and an outward. It's all somewhere else.
vibration.
It's all parallel. It's all cycles.
Well, I'm
rather
saying
than-
sativa and
Yes, so sativa and indica don't have anything to do with the THC. We did talk a little bit about this last week. The THC is identical in every cannabis product, in every delta. As long as if you're growing marijuana or weed or hemp, the THC is the same in every single one. It's just a molecule.
So if you're mixing THC and CBD, are you getting sativa or are you
Neither.
getting...
Those are completely irrelevant. There is no connection between the molecule THC, the molecule CBD, and the terms sativa or indica, and the terms up or down. These are completely disparate concepts. Oh yeah.
So if you're getting THC and CBD, then you're not getting either the sativa or the...
Correct.
How did they do that?
Well, so if you isolate things, you only get the molecule. If you only drank H2O, the molecule, that water will kill you. You need all of the other minerals and you need all of the other stuff that you get to give a lot more. That's probably won't kill you. That's I don't actually know, and again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm trying. Let me come up with a thing. When you isolate something, there is not else, and so.
So where would you get
the terp?
Where would you get the sativa?
All the other stuff. So last week we talked about terpenes, and terpenes are what give all the plants their properties, really. So if you've ever heard of lavender essential oils, I know we'll talk about it again later. But lavender is calming. Linalool is the terpene that's much more calming, and so you can get linalool in cannabis that does a calming aspect. There's 100 terpenes in cannabis, and those are the things that are going to give you directed effects. Those plus your own brain, and then the THC only gives those the energy to flow in the direction that the plant is taking you, or something.
So in addition to the discussion of terpenes in the actual cannabis plant, there's also, he touched on it a little bit, but not really in depth, there are a myriad of other terpenes as well. Some of them are more prevalent in particular strains that we would call an indica. So an indica product overall might be really heavy in a terpene called myrcene. It might also have some CBN in it, which is what happens when THC breaks down and degrades over time. It turns into CBN, and it's I'm not going to say no longer psychoactive, but on the edge of no longer psychoactive, but it is still sedating. And so some of those strains are just nuanced versions, and they also happen to be high in THC and provide psychoactivity.
The point is, any individual molecule by itself is going to be so severely hamstrung in its effectiveness and what you can do with it. And so even applying the term sativa or indica itself and expecting that to mean something is a trap, problematic, is a misnomer. There's 10,001 strains of cannabis, no more. And each one of them,
today there is.
And each one of them is different, and each one of them will do different things. Not only that, each one of them that does different things will do different things with you and your next door neighbor. And so the permutations here are quite literally mind-bogglingly absurd, to the point that it is not even relevant or productive to speculate on what will or will not work with others. I can tell you big sweeping generalities, and all of it means nothing when you try the product for the very first time. Because again, you're in charge of your own experience, and this plant that you're incorporating into your lived experience is going to tell you something that you might need to know. Ta-da. So, paranoia. back to like the playing and flying and directing and holding steady. You know, if I talk a lot about your baseline level of consciousness. That's like, and by consciousness, I mean it all. Your baseline level of physical health, your baseline level of mental health, and your baseline level of spiritual health are all one and the same. So that's where you are. Now you can change all sorts of things. By eating healthier or working out a little bit more, you raise your whole baseline. You didn't just fix your physical health and your mental health is unaffected. They are the same. They will work the same. As you clean up any part of your room, the whole room gets clean. And so, cannabis generally is going to do less. It's not necessarily a physical teacher as it is a mental one. And then spiritual too. We'll talk like breakthrough doses and paranoia. We're gonna get there. Oh my gosh, what time is it? We're gonna get there. I'm gonna talk really fast now. But so cannabis can help you, help you by, if the goal that you're trying to accomplish is an elevated baseline, cannabis can assist by jiggling the steering wheel a little bit and showing you what it's like to have an elevated baseline. Okay? And if you can see it and understand, wow, my day could go really well every day, you can get there. But you have to be able to see it to get there. If you cannot conceive of a happy day, you can't have a happy day.
That's very.
That's the trick to all consciousness. Is if you can conceive of it, paint the picture, hold the image, you can get there. That can be true. That is true already. But in your physical form, it doesn't mean you're there. You didn't change it in this third dimensional time-gated reality, but you changed it out there. Or you made it, changed, made, it doesn't matter. It's all static until we draw something out of it. Static, love of God, source, all of these things, but static nonetheless, is at least the way I see that. I see the chaos of all that is not created yet. Yet. In our fractalization. Paranoia is, in my opinion, what happens when people start to draw the connections of there being more out there than they are currently perceiving or holding as their conception, as their bubble. This is reality. As a child, you are told what reality is. Or you draw your own conclusions, but that can be even worse sometimes because you're so sure that you're right that nothing can shake you and nothing can change you. And so you construct your framework of reality, and if cannabis expands you to the limits of your framework, it's scary. Because there's more out there. Always. There's always more out there. And if you try to put any sort of limit on your own, on reality, when you are pushed up against it, it's going to scare you. That is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth sometimes feels like paranoia as you make more connections in your brain than you were previously, than you are used to making. It feels like everything's out there, out to get you.
I think sometimes it's possible too that when you get high and you, I think last week you said you sever your cord almost, you separate from your physical. When you feel that part of you slipping, if you feel like it's really important to hold up your physical.
Who's getting to this?
If you feel like it's really difficult to pretend, like, you know, if you get high enough, you will feel like you are struggling to pretend appropriately, and someone's gonna know. You know, I'm not smiling and waving. Oh God, am I doing this right? Where do I put my hands? You know, it's because you forget how to be a human, and that's a positive thing unless you think it's not. In which case, you are gonna freak out.
Yeah, it's clinging so tightly. We had one question. I don't think last week in here where it was like my friend gets really sore. I don't remember what. Okay, but it's like someone's like every time they smoke they get so physically sore, and I can't do anything but think that their psyche, their ego, is clinging so tenaciously to their physical form, like this is all I am, I promise. That you tense the muscles up so much that it's a workout, you know. And the fear and that growth, if you've seen in movies all over the place where someone gets a near-death experience and their spirit leaves and then comes back to the body, and then drawn out and comes back to the body. Your consciousness can do that too. And if you're not ready for it, that's a scary thing. And so the point of after you've had functional doses, so you kind of have an ongoing conversation with the plant, saying, hey, what is it that you do? What are you teaching me? You know, how am I incorporating this into my life? Maybe you practice some small integrations, like being less frustrated in traffic. Sue. Or any like smiling while doing the dishes instead of grumbling about it. Complaining less. These are things that you can easily accomplish with a functional dose of cannabis. Something that doesn't slow you down, you barely notice, but when you catch yourself complaining about something, you just like laugh it off instead of follow it and chase that thought. Now, breakthrough dosing. This is where, the paranoia comes in. You'll find that if you hover somewhere between a breakthrough and functional, that's where it's uncomfortable. That's where you start getting that kind of paranoia because you're no longer functional. Your control panel is a little bit messed up, like what Rachel was talking about. Am I waving appropriately? And all of those things that back to my first talk, as you drive your little avatar, you're getting worse at it. You're unable to properly control the physical form because your mental and your ethereal aspects are separating. You're no longer here, you are somewhere else. And I gesture out there, and we all know I don't mean out there, I mean within, because there's no out there. You're going within your own consciousness. And so, you have had an ongoing conversation with the plant long enough to at least understand the language that it is speaking and what's going on, then you might consider doing a breakthrough dose. And the breakthrough dose is the one that actually causes the separation. Now, you actually can get the choice whether a breakthrough dose is just an escape dose, but this is all you. If you choose to not surrender and be taken, and you choose to try, like you say, I reject this journey, and I'm going to stay, you're basically you are split. Listen to these words. But the part of you, the etheric part of you, goes somewhere else, and your physical form stays. And some people call that sleep. And people ask for that experience. But if you want to do a breakthrough, when you are offered a journey, you get to say yes. And you get to go somewhere to gain more of a perspective on things around you. To gain more of a perspective on your life and on all that is. I mean, there's no scenario where there's no scenario where you having a higher perspective or you getting a better you're getting a more expansive vantage point, can give you less information. You will know more. You can't carry it all, because there's a lot of stuff out there, but you will know more while you're there. And a valuable technique is the more you practice something like that, the better you are at retaining it as you come back. I say back, you never left, but we're gonna keep using these words because we're clumsy, right? So the point is, if you are finding yourself smashing up against the wall and unable to let go on a breakthrough dose, it is your ego that is holding on so tightly that it cannot let go. No one can fix that for you. Only you can fix what that is. We could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's not like that's what therapy is, right? I mean, we talk about stuff, but in therapy, you think the breakthrough comes from the therapist?
Yeah.
It is always you that makes the connection. They're just there to let you talk and maybe be nice to you.
And make money.
And make money, but
And not even always.
that is a valuable
Yes,
service.
it's the exchange.
Very valuable
That's
service.
an extremely valuable service. They deserve the because they hold space for you, and they allow you to be vulnerable with another.
And it's pointed.
It is all great, but also the service they provide is like helping you find you.
Right.
Not their own. Their job is to not change you.
Unless they're conversion therapists.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really.
And their job is
CBD now.
that is less of a valuable service.
You had to go there.
I mean, I had to.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So breakthrough dosing, letting go of your ego. Your ego is the thing that says, no, I am all that is, the little I. You'll lose yourself, the little s, self. And so you hit the wall, you bounce off, and like part of you may go, part of you stays. It's a very common thing. It's a very common experience. You're just gonna, so it's like being blackout drunk. Your consciousness is somewhere else, but your body's doing something. And in my case, my body's on like too much marijuana. I'm just sleeping or passed out. I'll say passed out because it's not sleep. If you're not wholly resting, you're not getting rested. And that's an interesting concept I'd like to explore sometime.
Say it again.
If you're not wholly resting, you're not getting rested. Because just something. Anyway, I'll come back to that in another thing. There is no special technique to surrendering. Okay. Well, before I run out of time, I do want to get. I'll come back to that concept. But as you take a breakthrough dose, that's not like you don't take a breakthrough dose every day. Because that's no longer a breakthrough dose. You're just out there at that point. You take a breakthrough dose to shake things up, attain perspective, and then come back and integrate. Because it's not like you can you with cannabis, you're generally not going to quantum leap your baseline to a different level overnight immediately off of one dose. And you're like, if I take the same 100 milligrams. Every day, I'm going to just fix everything forever because the one time that I did take that, it was great. This is how this tolerance. Just like everything, you build a tolerance to the thing. When you need more and more, and all of this is where traps come in. The trap is thinking that your breakthrough dose can fix things. It's you that fixes things after you integrate. And so Yes, Rachel. As you come back to a functional dose, to a different baseline, if you can build a different baseline out of understanding that things can be different.
So, controversial opinion. Sorry. Disclaimer there. I think it's really possible that if you decide that your baseline life is not working for you, and a dose of cannabis fixes that for you, if that's your decision. When you wake up every day after taking that dose for a few weeks or a few months or a few years at a time, you're waking up to now a new baseline reality, and cannabis just doesn't fix it anymore because cannabis built it. And so now you gotta take cannabis on top of your cannabis to enrich your reality, because you didn't do anything to hold it. You didn't actually change your reality or improve it at all. The cannabis did. It was a lie. And now the cannabis isn't doing it anymore because your baseline is a lie.
You didn't do it.
Right. So.
Yes. And I actually thought you were going to the quantum leap. How you can make a change instantly.
Yes.
In your entire life.
It's just like building a house. A hammer will only get you so far before you're going to have to get a saw or some more tools.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis is only going to make so many changes before you're going to actually have to find another tool.
It doesn't make the changes, it just shows them to you.
Yeah.
It just shows you stuff. And you get, that's what they all do, is they show you things, and you get to integrate as much as or as little as you want. And, okay, so, to take a breakthrough, I would recommend journaling. Get really high and try your best to write down what it is. What you see? What are your visions? I mean, this is all the famous psychonauts of history. That's all they did. They took a bunch of drugs and wrote down their experiences. That's where we get almost all philosophy ever.
Some of the greatest music came from being high.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff up there. There's stuff up there. Not all of it's great. Not all of it's not great. Some of it's amazing. Some of it's so-so. It's all there. And you get to find what's for you. And if you can bring it back, you can make the changes. A lot of times, so if you didn't surrender, you're not bringing anything back with you. If you didn't go with your etheric self or whatever part of yourself goes without you, if you don't go, how do you? Your line of consciousness is snipped, and so your physical, you might have had a great time up there and learned all sorts of the natures and the wonders of reality, and then you come back and your guy didn't get any of that. It's so sad. And he's like, I missed you. Where were you? Which is where you see. This is where you see a lot of the issues from cannabis abuse. If your higher self is not spending as much time as is right within your lower self, then both suffer because you haven't. It's not harmony. It's not balance. It's not. It's not growth. Right? We by doing one push-up, your higher self rejoices. Right? That's what cannabis can kind of help you reach, help you keep in contact with, help you integrate more and more and more until you can't see a difference between your physical self and your higher self. And you know that you have created a sanctuary, a vessel for yourself, for the best person that you can be. And that's just holding the image of waking up every day like that. It's hard. It's really hard to do. I laugh, and now it'll take on a serious side. This is really hard. Or easy. It should be effortless. Should's not a great word. It can be effortless because that's what surrender is. Surrender is what makes it effortless. Because there's no special technique to surrendering. You just let go and trust in the will of God, of Source. You trust in the will of the universe because you are in control of your own. If you're painting for yourself a picture that you don't like, why are you doing that? And so if you have painted for yourself a picture that you feel is ugly and you take drugs or you do something to get a much better look at it, you'll either see that it is beautiful, which is the breakthrough, or you will reject it again and cause more harm to your own self. You go up and you're like, everything is wrong, or everything is as it should be and I know how to move forward. The breaking through of the fear of making a change is what a breakthrough dose is kind of about. And I say dose, that was unnecessary. It's a breakthrough in any aspect. There's an infinite amount of ways to make a breakthrough. It's the choice that you must make to break through or to reject growth, to reject the all is mine, right? To reject unity rather than duality, to reject oneness rather than separation, and the rejection is the illusion. That's where we live, right? Maya. We live within the calculated or constructed rejection of unity, because this is where the growth happens. In a still pond, nothing happens. We're turbulent because that's what makes everything better. And cannabis is one language that helps change things. It shakes it all up. And by shaking it up, it gives us the perspective to change our individual lives. It gives us the perspective to change the world around us, and it gives us the perspective to change all that is. It's a tool. We'll go back to tool. Yes?
I was just sitting here thinking, as we know, Unity's history is very rich in agriculture and the huge amount of farms and lots of plants, fruits, vegetables that they've grown and still do to this day. And I can't help but think, especially with Myrtle's journey of pain, perhaps they could have had some growing in those fields as well. Just a thought.
That's some cool history that I'd love to hear more about. I don't know if Charles and Merle ever talked about cannabis, but that'd be some cool info.
Not that I have found.
I really enjoy their first person accounts. Very much so. Other people less so, but Charles and Merle were really cool. So that harmony of agriculture and fruits and vegetables and things. That's a very common lesson or thing taught by cannabis, as you would expect, because it's the plant. It loves the earth. It loves us. I mean, cannabis has been around for tens of thousands of years, or who knows how long. I'm not a historian, but cannabis loves us and loves the earth and loves teaching and can help you harmonize with the natural frequencies of things around you. Other substances have different frequencies and will help you tune into and harmonize with those specific frequencies of reality. Cannabis isn't going to do the same thing LSD is. It's not going to do the same thing psilocybin does, or DMT, or. Cannabis isn't going to do any of those things. Cannabis is going to do what cannabis does, which is what you do. Which you do you things, you don't do other things, or you've gotten lost. To kind of sum this up, the whole series is what I've been doing. The important thing is that, like all things, cannabis itself is a boon, is a tool, is a trap, is a way to alter your consciousness to whatever end. And that end is determined by you. You are the ultimate conductor of your own reality. Cannabis is giving you a little kick in the butt to propel you in some direction, but ultimately you're the pilot that steers. Or you're not, and no one is at the helm. So the point is, be at the helm, and then you can use any tool you want, in any direction you want, to accomplish anything you want, because you create your own reality, and the universe celebrates with you as you do it. It's just going to amplify what you do. And so you pick what you do and ride the waves, using whatever tools or vehicles or vessels work for you. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Great series, great.
Good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed.
All right. I just want to say I've really appreciated this
Yes.
series. I mean, I've learned a ton.
Awesome.
Even though I don't know if cannabis is a plant medicine for me, but I definitely vibe with plant medicine. So thank you for this series. And I am going to go around and pass the basket. And if you are online, you can give online by going to unityofspringfield.org/give, or just give anywhere on the site. And Greg is going to do the announcements.
Yes. It's time to deck the halls. Please plan to stay after service today to help decorate the church for the holidays. We are going to order pizza for lunch. The monthly board meeting will be held tomorrow, November 27th at 6 p.m. All are welcome. Next Sunday at 9:15 a.m. in the New Thought World Religion Adult Sunday School, Mary Hilsenbeck-Huber will present Healthy Boundaries, Part 1. Yay! Next Sunday, we will have Cookie Sunday instead of a potluck. Everyone is invited to bring some cookies to share. Oh boy. Yeah. Holly Jolly, Youth of Unity, Carolers, and Santagrams. Okay. So Jen, hey. Alright, so the Youth of Unity is caroling, and you should donate. Talk to Jen about that. And they go around and they sing, and it's a good time. If anyone knows more.
So you can kind of hire the youth to go around caroling. We did it last year for my mother-in-law, and it was probably her favorite Christmas gift, so we're definitely doing it again this year.
Awesome. Alright. We will have a follow-up Planet Unity planning meeting right after service on December 10th. If you would like to be part of the planning committee, please attend this meeting. Have you donated your time, talent, or treasure? If you have volunteered in any capacity, please join us for a chili potluck and holiday party on December 16th from 12 to 3 p.m. If you would like to participate in a gift exchange game, please bring a gift valued up to $10. Sign up in the foyer if you can attend and what you would like to bring. That's all. We still have some time. Right?
Yeah, 2 whole minutes.
2 whole minutes. Anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, criticism?
Anything online?
Anything online? How many?
I don't
No.
know. Bobby, is there any? Oh, Bobby said.